Hello everyone, welcome back. So, in today's session, we will be getting started with the first topic for our learning, which is all about virtualization. So, in today's session, the attempt is to understand what exactly virtualization is and how this virtualization has a relation in conjunction with cloud. So, we will try to understand as much as basics of what virtualization or how to carry out virtualization, and then we will attempt to provision our virtual machines. So let's get started. So assume that you are given a requirement. The requirement turns out to be like this, that you are required to run an application. An application is nothing but a piece of code which is written and handed over to you. You are required to deploy that application. So what I do, the first thing that I go ahead is go ahead and do a search for it. Like what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for servers, for example, a Dell server. Starting with our Dell server, I'll go ahead and look for this Dell server and buy this Dell server or hardware. It's basically I look for the hardware in order to do the deployment. Now let's start to look at the infrastructure piece. So I will go ahead and start to buy this hardware. Then after the hardware installation is done, I would like to go ahead and start running the application on top of it. So first thing what I need a server. If you look at the servers here, so there are different type of servers like rack servers, towers, tower-based servers. So I have to pick one based upon my requirement, and then I have to, make it undergo different configurations. Like I need to add cooling for it, power, cabling, internet, bandwidth, and make it up and running. So now, people, let me highlight this in the form of my infrastructure. That is like which has a component which has a CPU, memory, and a hard drive. On top of it, then I would install host operating system. What do you mean by host operating system? So this is the operating system that would get installed on that server. So let's say the operating system which I would like to go ahead and install is Windows Server Edition 2019, the latest server edition. This is my Dell hardware. So everything is running inside the office premises. Inside my office, there is the premises I'm running in. Looks everything fine. Then I'm gonna run the application. Like I will install whatever the relevant packages. Let's say it's a Java app, so I'll install compilers and then make this application running. My life is now simple. I'm just started to run the application. Now the organization starts to come within a request that we are planning to launch 10 more such apps. 10 more apps. So people, how many servers do I need to hold these 10 more apps? If I have one application running on one server, how many servers do I need? 10 more, that's right. Another 10 more servers do I need. So if I multiply the cost, so I request the other person to go on, if you don't mind. Right, thank you. So the cost is now getting 10 times multiplied by the actual cost, and also my administration is getting 10 times multiplied by 10 because I have to manage 10 more servers. And there's a requirement that there are some apps where they don't need Windows as the operating system, or they don't suffice running on Windows operating system. They need, for example, a different operating system like Ubuntu. Another application is does need the application need to run on a SUSE operating system. So what is exactly I'm trying to make is when there is a requirement that is making me mandate to run on different operating system. So now there are two choices for me. Choice number one, choice number one is pick up an infrastructure, put Windows operating system or Ubuntu operating system and SUSE operating system. That means this is now getting the infrastructure is getting now multiplied 10 times. Like I have to buy new servers, new operating system, managing. It's an additional task. So is there any solution that can help me to manage this current requirement? The answer is yes. We can do an optimal way of handling this current requirement by bringing up the concept of hypervisor. So hypervisor is the system that has ability to currently manage the current requirement. Now, how does this happen? So hypervisor is basically you can take it as a software component which you will install on your host operating system. That brings up the concept of virtual hardware. So instead of your physical hardware, now what you do is whatever the server you had, it's like the large infrastructure that you had, you are taking the assistance of this tool, which is hypervisor, to break smaller virtual hardware units. So instead of having physical servers, what I got virtual hardware units. And this virtual hardware units give me ability to run my own operating systems, like the operating system of my choice. Now this operating system is given as guest because this is the host on which hypervisor is running. Guest operating system is something that you have ability to run on your virtual machines, so virtual hardware, and then the application of my choice, whether it is a web-based application or whether it is a database that you want to run. So two things, I don't need to buy more infrastructure. I can host virtual machines. That means effective utilization of my infrastructure, one, and operating system of my choice. I can run the operating system of my choice. I can run Windows here. I can run Ubuntu here. I can run SUSE here. Who is giving you this ability to get all these things done? The hypervisor is giving you that ability. The products like Hyper-V and Zen. Hyper-V is Microsoft product. Zen is an open source product under the category of hypervisors. So what are we trying to achieve here is very, very simple, people. You have an infrastructure, which is your hardware. You are partitioning your server into smaller hardware units. Instead of getting several servers, we are now trying to minimize the number of servers by bringing out partitioning into your server into smaller hardware units. And also you have ability to launch your own virtual machines with your own operating system, whatever the choice you want. If you people have understood the purpose, can I expect confirmation by typing yes in your chat so that I can proceed for other people?
Rachara, can you please come again with the hypervisor overview once again, please?
Fair, no problem. Let's assume that you don't have anything here. So you have an infrastructure, you have host operating system, you're happily running right app run on top of it. Your life is easy. But what is my aim? My aim is instead of using each server for every use case, What I want to bring out partition. Let's say very simple. Take a loaf of bread. You may not have it everything on day one when you get it. So what you do, you try to slice it. You do that like first half of the day you will have first part of it, and second half of the day you will say another half of it. Or you want to share it across. You want to share it across, so you start partitioning it. In the same way, instead of just utilizing it only for a single purpose, what you can do here is you can start slicing it, partitioning it as per your requirement. Who does this? Hypervisor. So hypervisor is a product which has that ability to partition your entire infrastructure, that is your hardware, into virtual hardware units, and you also get that ability to run your applications on whatever the kind of operating system. So people have understood. Now I need quick
Yeah.
confirmation. Is there only
Okay.
Yes, Rajendra,
Yes.
I have a question. Like hypervisor will take space in host operating system. How much space it will take?
right? So it depends upon the kind of hypervisor that we will use. Some hypervisors need some kind of megabytes, 2 gigabytes of storage. Depends upon the size of hypervisor. I'll show you now. Once we now start to do the actual setup, I'll be showing you how much space is required. So is that clear to all of you people? Now this one is running where? Inside your that is your premises, inside your premises. So this is an on-premises setup. So I'll give a simple example for this. The example is I have a big server, very big server that has about 48 gigabyte of RAM. Not so big, but it's a big server with 4 terabytes of hardware. On top of it, I'm running a Windows operating system. I'm going to be installing hypervisor. Now my ability is to provision smaller virtual hardware units. Like each core is allocated to one vCPU. So now CPU becomes vCPU because they are virtual. One core, and four CPU. And I'm slicing each piece of RAM, like 4 gigabyte of RAM for one machine, another 4 gigabyte of RAM for another machine, the second machine, another 16 gigabytes of RAM for third machine, the machine number 3. So now, great advantage of using virtualization, as I said, I can run my operating system of my own choice. I can run on Ubuntu, I can run a SUSE, I can run on Red Hat, and applications of my choice. Now, I can run my Apache, which is only required to run Ubuntu. I can. Tomcat is only required to run on SUSE. I can. MySQL, I can run on Red Hat. So two purposes are solved. I'm effectively utilizing my infrastructure, yes, and operating systems of my own choice, the application requirement getting done. People, I hope this method of slicing the hardware, partitioning of hardware gave you much clarity regarding the virtualization. If you have understood, I need another confirmation from all of you there so that I can proceed further here. So there is no great thing involved in this. It's like a big piece of hardware sliced into smaller units, giving me each machine. I have each machine with me now to host of operating system of my choice and then application accordingly.
So here, virtual CPU should not be more than physical CPU, right?
Correct. It's like we are allocating, right? One core CPU, one core CPU, one core CPU. And if you look at the hardware, see, instead of looking at vCPU, vCPU is not of greater importance. Look at the hardware. In terms of RAM, RAM is important because it's something which does your computing. So 4 plus 4, 8 plus 16, 24. So out of 48 gigabytes of RAM, I have consumed or allocated 24 gigabytes of RAM for 3 machines with each one 4 and 4, another one 16. So how much of RAM still I'm left out with? 24 gigabytes of RAM. Now just assume that if I'm allocating,
What is the maximum RAM you can for which you should compare to one?
Right now, it depends upon the usage. If you require to host 4 gigabyte, you can start with 4. You can go up to completely. It's like a button. So you can get started with 1 GB of RAM, and you can go and allocate complete 48 gigabyte of RAM. But that is not the right way to allocate 40 GB, because we also have to allocate certain portion of your RAM for the CPU, for your server also, because server has to do some kind of computing, right? So we can keep up to 44. So one, you can start from one and you can end up at 44 gigabytes also. After that, this is not recommended because it needs certain part of RAM for its own processing. So server needs to do some kind of processing, right? So it needs certain part of it. So you can get started either from 1 GB to 44 GB for your partitioning. So in this case, I'm saying that 4 GB is the minimum that you should not touch, you should not consume. So you can start with 1 GB of for a RAM for a vCPU, and you can go up to a maximum 44. Clear?
Yeah, clear. Thank you.
Right. Now, these things are right now, everything is happening inside my friend, inside my office. Now, the question to be answered is, if everything is running smoothly in my office, then what is the necessity for me to go and adapt to cloud? What is the relation between? So companies have started to invest in cloud. The reason is very, very simple. They don't want this entire infrastructure running inside their premises. They are not interested to manage this entire piece into cloud. They're not interested to manage the entire piece. They said, like, why should we get a new server, host it, hypervise it, machine it, then slice it, then do all this stuff? Is there any way that organization can be offloaded out of this? Like, I don't want to manage my own servers. I want to rent a server. Like, I always give an example of buying a house versus renting a house. Renting a house is always cheaper, right? When you go ahead and buy a house versus renting a house, which is the cheapest model, people? Which is cost effective? Renting a house. So, in the same way, instead of me buying a server, instead of buying this server, I would go ahead and rent this server. Now, what happens if this is the same setup is done inside AWS Cloud? Let's pick up AWS Cloud. So, what AWS Cloud will do? AWS Cloud have their large data center. So, they have their data center. So, inside the data center, what they do, they put up a big server or multiple servers, put their operating system, hypervisor, and then they say that, hey, we will manage this one. You don't need to worry about it. If it is kind of power, we will take care. Power requirement, we will take care. Bandwidth requirement, we will take care. Bandwidth is nothing but internet connection. Security for this infrastructure. If there is some kind of failure, we will take care. So this is not your bucket. This is something AWS. AWS will take it. Now AWS says, okay, now I'll give you ability to launch the machine of your own size. Whatever the machine that you want, you go ahead and launch it. Whatever the operating system, it's up to you. What are the applications, it's up to you. So AWS says, till this, it's my responsibility. On top of it, it is your responsibility. Whatever you want to create, install, run. You want to run a gaming application, you want to run a CRM, you want to run a database, you want to run whatever you want to run. It's your choice. And you want to provision infrastructure, it is your choice. Question to all of you, a simple question. Does it matter if this infrastructure is Dell? Does it matter if this infrastructure is HP? Does it matter for you this infrastructure is Fujitsu? People, if AWS is using these hardware vendors, does it matter for you? Does it matter whether they're using Windows or Linux as their host operating system? Very good point.
No, it's not a problem.
Right. So it is like until unless your servers are running, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't be a matter of concern for us whether it's a Dell, HP, Fujitsu, or any other brand. But what does it matter for us if we are not able to provision our servers, if we are not able to run our application? That is why many companies have started, instead of having their own data center, they rent a data center so that you will not manage the infrastructure, you would not manage the underlying operating system, hypervisors, power, cooling, internet, maintenance, security, surveillance. You are not doing all this. You just focus on application development. So
It takes care of it, right?
I'm sorry, Sashi, please.
The company takes care of it, right?
Right. So there is a shared security model. There is a shared responsibility. The shared responsibility go like this. Till this part, AWS says it is my responsibility. From here, it is your responsibility. Whenever I say you, organization, part of the organization. So AWS is completely taking care of this, and you people are taking. Now, AWS has to give you like consumption. So whatever that you have done, so it has to take payment from you. So AWS will say, okay, so I have to pay because it is that you are renting the server from there. If you're renting the products, then it has to collect the rent for it. So how does it collect the rent? In the form of consumption. So let's say you started this machine yesterday. So till today, there are about 24 hours. So AWS would bill you for 24 hours, like making it like $1 a day. So for what 24 hours, you will get $1. Likewise, 30 days, $30. Now add up this cost with regards to your server cost, maintenance cost, power cost, cooling cost, internet cost, people cost, storage cost, network cost. It will go in hundreds of thousands of dollars. So a simple logic is that when a company have its own data center, it is something that you will take from end to end. But when you shift onto cloud, it is the based upon consumption. So instead of looking at this model, it is just the consumption. So how many number of hours you consume their server, you have to pay for that cost. So this is the relation between people. So this is what is that has led companies to shift from on-prem to cloud. That is what virtualization has to do. So virtualization has led the cloud industry much forward. Why? Instead of having your own premises, you are now having virtual machines in cloud. When you do computing, that is what is called cloud computing. People, have you now understood the relation between cloud and virtualization technology?
By this, what profit
Apologies, your voice has a background noise that is blocking here. Can you go ahead and drop in a chat window? Right? Okay. Now, this is the first part of our learning. So what we'll do is people, this once you have understood the purpose of virtual machine, so even before we go ahead and start learning our cloud, cloud learning with help of virtual machine, why don't we go ahead and learn and provision our own virtual machines? Why shouldn't we stop ourselves launching our own machine? What is that? What is that will stop us launching our virtual machine? So we should be able to launch our own virtual machine. Why? See that people, it is not that every company expects you to deliver everything on cloud because there is a bill associated. So what companies would ask, like in our organization, even before we deploy anything on cloud servers, we are asked to just check, is there any way that you guys can do it on your instances? They're asking us, right? They'll ask us like, even before you run an application in server, cloud server, try attempting to run in your local system so that you guys can save some cost for the company. So it would be good if you can learn to launch your own virtual machine. And that is what we will do in this scenario. So what I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to just go ahead and look for a hypervisor in this system. So what is that we are trying to achieve now? We will now make our infrastructure. So this is my infrastructure, or this is my infrastructure. So this infrastructure is nothing but my laptop in this case, or it's your own laptop. Now you will have an ability to run an application on top of it. People, it has been requested several times that whenever you are joining the session, please go on mute. It's really kind of blocker for me. Thank you so much. Once again, please. Okay. Edwin, can you help people with regards to their uh, yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you. So now back. So this is the infrastructure in this case, which is my laptop. Now I'm going to show you people how virtualization can help you to have your own servers. Like right now, my laptop is running with Windows operating system. I'm going to show you how I can run an Ubuntu operating system. I'm going to show you now. So for that, we need to effectively utilize our infrastructure. So infrastructure in this case is my laptop. My operating system is Windows 10, and I'm going to use a hypervisor. So let's go ahead and check any hypervisor for a use case. I'll just mention hypervisor. So hypervisor, if you just go ahead and look, you get plenty of it. But I would like to go ahead and use hypervisor for free or free open source hypervisor. So if you look at the open source hypervisor list, you'll get plenty of recommendations. So one hypervisor which I prefer to use is Oracle VirtualBox. So Oracle VirtualBox does fall under your open source product. So what I would like to go ahead and start using is Hypervisor, which is VirtualBox. So VirtualBox is one such product. So if you just go ahead and look for Oracle VirtualBox, so Oracle VirtualBox, OVB in short, is a free and open source product which is handled by Oracle. So it's time for us to get started now. So I'll go ahead and click on this Oracle VirtualBox, which would go ahead and ask me to download it. I'm just gonna download it. So people, there are 4 tabs. If you are using Windows, you may continue using this. So I'm going to download it. For people who are using Mac OS X, you can download it, which will be under .dmg file. You just need to save and start with the installation. So there is no great science in it. So let me just complete the installation process. So it is always good as learning. Your learning should start from virtual machines, because you'll see a lot more companies still today. Many companies have their options running on virtual machines. It's not that everything is expected to run on cloud. Companies start using virtual machines, then slowly they'll go on to cloud. So that is the reason I'm spending time with you people regarding this subject of virtualization. Then you'll understand how this server and cloud servers are related. Just the installation process, download. What is a kind of blocker for this? Downloads. Still it's downloading. So people, it's up to you. You can even practice along with me. Like you can download it, install it along with me. You can make it later, or it's up to you people. Then the choice is given to you. Let me just do a retry. What is the kind of blocker that needs to go? Now this is a file that I've planned to continue. Run with the selection. Now it would ask me to complete the setup 6.1.4. So it is expected to get installed in your program file /oracle /virtualbox. If any other folder, please select the other folder and continue to install file. It does take some time, maybe about a minute. Once this setup is done, let's continue the installation. What is the kind of selection? Looks like done. Creating the components. So what are we trying to do now? So in the meanwhile, let this process continue. What are we trying is, we are trying to make sure the server, that the virtual hardware that we have, the system that we have, we are planning to give a hypervisor. We are planning to have the power of hypervisor. Okay, now let me just get started. Now, this is the UI, the welcoming page of your Oracle VirtualBox. It's time for us to have virtual machine running in our system. So the operating system that I have is Windows 10. Now I'll show you how can I run a virtual machine with partitioned RAM of my own size and operating system of my own choice. People I prefer to use Ubuntu, or in case I prefer the other alternative Ubuntu is something that I use Amazon Linux, which is in AWS Cloud. CentOS is another kind of operating system I prefer. So let's start to provision a virtual machine. You can click, there's a button called New. It would ask you to create a virtual machine, name and the type of operating system. Right. So I would like to give this machine is Vita. first VM that I'm creating. I gave a name. So the machine would get created. It needs a storage to store, right? So it is getting created inside my C users folder. There is a folder name called HP, and that is the username. And under that there is a folder called VirtualBox space VM. So this is the path that holds here. If you want to store somewhere, you can. Next, what is the type of operating system you want to pick? I would like to pick Linux, and the type of version of operating system. There are plenty of systems right now. I'm looking forward to run Ubuntu 64. Click next. This piece makes it much clearer. So out of the RAM that I hold, 4 GB of RAM that I hold, it is asking you, please allocate at least 1 gigabyte of RAM. So people, now you are able to understand memory sizing. So out of the RAM that I hold, which is 4 GB, this Oracle VirtualBox says you are required to provision 1 GB at least for this RAM. Okay, I said fine. Can I provision 2 GB 2048? Yes. But it is of a good practice that you shouldn't go beyond this level. So why is that it is not required to go beyond this level? Because the rest of the part is used by your system, your laptop. Your laptop has to use RAM for other processes, right? I cannot give entire piece of RAM. So I'm going ahead with 1 GB of RAM is way more than sufficient for my machine. Next, right after this, I'm planning to continue. So it is asking, okay, fine, you have allocated 1 GB of RAM. What is the type of hard disk? So I would like to go ahead and create a new hard disk, and that hard disk storage is about 10 gigabytes. Fine, created. After that, it is asking me what is the type of file size. I would like to make sure that file type is of VDI images. Next, how do you want dynamically? And this is a storage where it will get stored. Under VirtualBox, it will create a folder called beta-vm, the name of the in which it will store your VDI. Means entire system gets stored in the form of VDI image. That is the file size is about 10 gigabytes of storage. Hard disk created. So there you go, people. Your machine is ready. Your Ubuntu machine is ready. So let's get started with the usage of it. So people, question to all of you, answer my question. Where is this server right now available? Is it available in cloud or is it available inside your system? Local, inside my system? Yes. Now, I would like to go ahead and start this machine. Now, why did I put this question is, you need to understand if this is the same kind of server you launched in cloud, it is called cloud server or instance, we call it. We use a word called instance. This is a virtual machine which is running inside your inside your premises, inside your laptop. Now, coming back to the machine, machine says, okay, I'm ready to start, but you haven't given me the method or the system where I can start this machine. But you did not give me any kind of drive where I can find the suitable operating system to run this. That's absolutely right. I did not give anything in terms of uh, iOS. I did not give it any kind of device in the form of an image so that it can pick and start making it to run. It's missing. If you look at it, will respond you saying that wait for a moment. It will say no bootable medium found system halted. So what is the meaning of it? There is no operating system from which your system can boot up. So what is that next thing that I need to do, people? I need to download or I need to now supply the operating system image. So go ahead and do a quick search. That is VirtualBox images. I need now images, right? Images are what from which machines can be started. So I need those images. So if you look at the VirtualBox images, there are plenty of images that are available for you. But we don't need all that. We need those images that are specific to my requirement. Like we have Android, we have CentOS. Okay, I'll do it later. CentOS we have, Debian we have. lot of products. But now my product is specific to Ubuntu. So you can download it or you can visit the official website. Click this link, it will lead you to ubuntu.com, the official website of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is very popular across the is one of the widely used operating system, I can say. It is my experience. I've seen most of the enterprise projects run on Ubuntu operating system. Like you can even see Netflix, even AWS use it, Google Cloud use it, Microsoft use it. So all these cloud providers are using Ubuntu. Now it's time for me to go ahead and start downloading, and it's free. You can download it. I would like to go ahead and use Ubuntu desktop, which is about 20.04. So it does take some time. So what I've done, people, I have just started to download it. Like I've downloaded it earlier to save that time of 2.6 gigabytes of storage download time. So I made it available on my desktop. So desktop, I have the operating system that I've already downloaded. So what I'm going to do is now I'm just going to go ahead and just power off this. See that you can even start a machine, power off machine. Here it is. Just give me a moment. It's already mentioned there. So just download. Under that you can see desktop version. Click 20.04 LTS. So it will ask you to download it. It is about 2.6 gigabyte of storage. So I've downloaded already to save some time. Now it's time for me to attach the operating system for it. On this process, what you need to do is select your machine. Go ahead and right click your machine. You see there is an option called settings. Click that settings. Or you can directly reach by clicking storage. You can just click the storage. Yeah, the storage now. So in the storage, you can see the controller which requires to run this machine. There is nothing available here. There's an option that you can see add optical drives. Click on that. Click add here. Under the add symbols, you see on my desktop there is an Ubuntu 20.04 desk. You need to supply the path where you have installed it. Now you've selected it and choose. That means next time when the machine gets started, it uses this image to start ISO image. Get started. Open. Now the machine is ready. It's time for me to go ahead and start the machine back. Just double click it, the machine will get started. Now you'll see that people, the machine which was halted before now has an ability to see that you can now Ubuntu machine running in your system. It does take some time. I'll just keep this aside. So let's go back what we have done and what we have achieved. So people, on my laptop, which was infrastructure in this case with the Windows 10 operating system, what is the hypervisor people did I install? What is the hypervisor did I install? OVB, Oracle.
VirtualBox.
This Oracle VirtualBox gave me an ability what to launch an instance which is of 1 core CPU and 1 gigabyte of RAM. Instead of 4, I just used it 1, and I gave 10 gigabytes of storage. Then the server that I want to run was Ubuntu operating system. So I have been able to achieve whatever I was mentioning. People, this is something which are right now doing on our in your system. So this kind of setup I can call it as premises. That means inside my premise. Inside, if you do this inside your system, it is inside your office. This is called on-prem. But if the same setup, if I do so, cloud will give you an ability to this point that you can launch your instance, the operating system of your own choice. If you people now understood the connection, can I expect another confirmation from all of you there that how virtual machines can be provisioned inside your system and what is the connection between a virtual machine to that of a cloud? So you will do the same thing of provisioning virtual machines, but no more inside your system in AWS Cloud. So AWS Cloud is like having a large server made ready for you. You go ahead and launch your own machine. So it will give you what kind of operating system, Ubuntu, what kind of size you need. I need 1 core and 1 GB of RAM. How much of hard disk? 10 gigabytes of storage. Then start that machine. So the machine will get started. So this is what is an ability that is given to you over the cloud. The machine is getting started. So it is taking some time. Let the machine be running in this. So what is the takeaway, people, that you have learned for today? In today's session, you have understood what exactly virtualization is. I think machine is ready. There you go. Ubuntu machine is ready. Now this machine is ready for your use. You can get started. I'll not go into the installation process. It is not required for us to install. You can say, I'll just say, I would like to just continue using Ubuntu. So if you say try Ubuntu, it will start immediately. If you say install, it will ask you configurations regarding the language, network, all that stuff. So you can start using it, but just say try Ubuntu, your operating system is sufficient. So in the meanwhile, let me start to give the summary of what we have learned today. So in today's summary, we have learned about the importance of virtualization, the ability given to us with the help of Hypervisor to provision our infrastructure into virtual units, into virtual hardware, which is given by Hypervisor. It's a software which you will install on your guest operating system that gives you ability to launch virtual machines. The host machine, where you install Hypervisor, which is called the host machine. The machines that get created out of the Hypervisor, we call it as guest machines. And the operating system, respectively, we call it host operating system and the guest operating system. That's all, guys, for today. So today's summary, what we have also learned is how to provision a virtual machine in your system, is in your laptop. So you have used your infrastructure as your laptop and started to provision a virtual machine inside your system. There you go. The machine is ready for your usage. If you have people understood the purpose of launching a virtual machine and the connection of virtual machine as part of the cloud, this is what is the quick start that I want people to do. So the same kind of provisioning virtual machines, instead of doing on your system, on your laptop, you will do in AWS Cloud. So AWS Cloud, you can assume that like they have a data center, they have a hardware, you are connecting via internet, and that server is available over internet. So it's like the medium of connection is like this is AWS Cloud on one side, this is your AWS Cloud. Just example, there's a data center. Inside that they placed a server, they have installed a hypervisor on it. This H means hypervisor, and you have launched virtual machine VM here. So you are here and you're trying to connect to this server. So what is the medium of connection, people, to connect to this VM that you are provisioning? So what are you trying to do here is computing. You're trying to do computing on this machine. And this method, we call it as, this entire system, I can call it as cloud. So that's how cloud computing has laid foundation. That's how virtualization got the, that's how virtualization is used to provision your virtual machines. And that has laid foundation for your cloud computing. So that's all, guys, for today. I hope this session was clear in terms of virtualization and the relation between virtualization and cloud. So if you're clear, I would need a confirmation so that we can wrap this.
Yes.
Thank you, people. Thank you, admin, for the recording as well.